Welcome everyone to our Medieval Dynasty survival guide. We are doing a quest walkthrough today in Oxbow. We are actually at, what is this town called? Skauki? And there's a gentleman here who needs our help, and we're gonna do his quest. And it's pretty fun. Definitely requires a little bit of memory, so do your mental exercises if you need to beforehand. So let's talk to our friend Wojcik. Yep. And we'll just say, how can I help you? And he says, I need one moron to stay away from me, my family, and my house. And we can say, that sounds pretty serious. And he says, it is serious. He copies anything I do. He copied my haircut, but when I pointed that out, he cut his hair short. He tried to flirt with my Bozina's apprentice because he also would like to have a cook for a wife. And I heard him saying that if he had a son, he would call him Bogdan. And what's my daughter's name? Bogdana, which is kind of funny, but... and we can say that's a bit concerning because it kind of is. It's a little weird. And he says, but there's more. Some time ago, together with my wife, we decided to redecorate our house. We really wanted it to stand out, so we put our hearts and souls into it. And guess what? Recently, I had to visit this moron. Do you know what I saw there? And then obviously, if we're kind of following the pattern here, we can say, I guess the inside of his house looks uncannily similar to yours. And he says, he copied everything, every single detail. And the worst thing is, he had never visited me before, so he had to be there without me knowing it. I'm so fed up with him, which is really creepy. That's actually really creepy. And then we can say, we can go and have a talk with him. And he's like, please do. So that is the quest. We'll go ahead and make this active. Neighbors have their differences, and that is the quest. So there's really only one little reward for this, and that is Dynasty Reputation, but we do get a good amount of it at 300, which is pretty cool. So if you need some Dynasty Reputation, go ahead and do this quest. I think it's a pretty fun one. It's a little bit different than your standard other quests. But we're gonna go talk to Nasiebor, who lives. Where does he live? Where is he? Where did I go? Did I go somewhere silly? Is he over here now? Where are you at, buddy? There you are. He's running away from me because he knows. He's like, oh, they're talking crap about me. I gotta get out of here. So here's our friend, who does look a little bit like the other guy, I have to say. That's kind of like a... Obviously, it's kind of like a tongue-in-cheek kind of joke, too, just about, the NPCs looking like each other and all that. So he asked us, is there anything that I can help you with? And we said, I talked with your neighbor, and he says, he's complaining again, isn't he? It's not my fault that we have very similar tastes, and I don't copy him. It's just flattering. Oh, he's just flattering himself. And we were like, is he though? And he says, of course he is. His ideas are simply not as original and unique as he thinks they are. So no wonder other people will come up with very similar ones. And our houses are not the same. You can check for yourself and tell what's different. All right, I can take a look. So this is kind of like the core part of the game right here, where we have to find 5 differences between these two houses. And that's where I'm saying you gotta do a little mental exercises, get your memory going. And then if you come in here, this is Wojcik's house, and we can see he has a moose skull, he has a rooster relief there, he has a little fur thing, he's got some stuff hanging, he's got a pot of daisies, here's like a dove relief above the door. There's a badger pelt by the campfire, and then I think it's like a boar or a bear fur on the ground. So those kind of like the key things to look for, and we have to go to our other friend's house and see what he has to see if there's any kind of major differences. Now, I have gone through this quest before, so I know what they are, and we'll just go through it, but I just wanted to kind of show you guys what to keep your eye out for. So here we are. And we can see immediately that obviously he has a deer skull here instead of a moose one. That looks the same. He obviously has a different fur here that looks like a wolf. There's a shelf here where there wasn't on the other guy. Those are the same. This is different. He has a pot of dandelions. And then if we look up here, there is a squirrel relief above the door instead of that rooster or dove or whatever it was. And then I think this is the same thing as like a bear kind of fur on the ground. Now, when you feel like you have your 5 differences, and granted, yours might not be the same as mine. I'm not 100% sure if they're like different between each player in like little ways or not. But when you feel like you have them all, you're going to go talk to Wojcik again. And keep in mind, there's like a little thing that he does where he'll ask you something and kind of try to trip you up where he'll ask you a question, but like it actually won't be different. So we're gonna go into this, and we're gonna do our best to answer his questions. So he says, and how did the try to defend himself? And we say, he tried to prove that there are some differences between your houses, and well, there are some. And he says, yeah, so what are they? Enlighten me. So right now we can say, we know that he's got a deer skull, and our friend here has a moose skull, so we'll click that. And then he does have that pot of dandelions. Our buddy here has daisies. Now here's one of the ones that I was talking about where it can get a little tricky. Because it wants you to make you think like, oh no, they have different furs. They didn't. They were the same. So we'll say the rugs on the floor are the same. And then the same thing here, where like the candles, maybe for your playthrough they might be different, but for mine they were the same. So we are going to say the candles are placed in the same way. And then make sure that you read this very carefully, because I kept getting this part wrong because I just wasn't reading it. I just saw blah blah, this is it. So when you're reading this, make sure that you realize that this says above the bed, and down here says above the fire. Now we saw that he had, that our guy here, he had badger fur, and the other guy had wolf fur, and that was above the fire. So we're going to click that one. And then we come to the relief that was above the door. We know our friend had a dove relief, and he had a squirrel relief. So we just got to find that. You've got a dove, and he's got a squirrel. We'll click that. And then he also had that shelf under his window, and he thinks this is supposed to prove his point, and we're going to say, we believe so. And he says, wow, I'm impressed. And this is where you know that if you got it all correct, this is what he will say. If you are missing something or you answered incorrectly, he will tell you, well, I think you're wrong, and then you can go and take a look at the houses again. But basically, he says, wow, I'm impressed. He changed how many things? 5. Tell him all these differences make no difference to me. He better buzz off. And we can say, all right. Now, this is kind of like the last part of the quest where we basically have to have this little heart-to-heart with our friend Nasiebor. And there's different flavors to this. But either way you do, you know, however you handle the situation, you will get your quest reward, which is again the 300 dynasty reputation, which is great because you know what, I need some more workers, so I'm not hating on that dynasty reputation. He's in here, he's working the mines. Hello there, buddy. And he says, and does Woodruff understand now that our houses aren't the same and that he's paranoid? And then we basically tell him, well, the differences didn't really convince him. Actually, they didn't convince him at all. You need to put yourself in his shoes. That's your specialty, isn't it? Which is a little... That's a little mean, but anyway, he's concerned about his family's safety, which is also fair. His family's safety, I would never harm him or his family members. And then we'll say, tell me better what it's all about. You have to admit, it's getting suspicious. And he has this sigh. He says, it's Wojcik. He has everything. Family, people's respect, proficiency in his craft. And what do I have? Nothing except loneliness, debts, and a job that can be done by anyone strong enough to hold a pickaxe. And this is where the flavor kind of comes in. And we'll just say... I feel like number 1 is just kind of practical, right? Just be like, by the way, it's not going to work like that. So we'll just say that. And he says, I know, but... And then we have like other things... this one's like a little bit coming on strong, like being like, you know, more aggressive. And I'll be like, you should just you know, that you ask him for advice. I don't know. And then he'd be like, oh no, I'll never tell him that. And then we could say, well, apologize then. And which you mean, you know, he'll maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But we got our 300 dynasty reputation. Let's get out of this little scary cave here. This is mine. And it's like that. It's about the way that you go about it. And I actually really enjoyed this quest because if you've ever played like, you know, like a spot the difference kind of game, this is very much that. And you know what? It was fun. It was a little bit different than some of the other quests that are kind of out there. So I enjoyed that. But yeah, so go ahead and head to this town. Maybe this quest will be available for you. And then... you know, good luck spotting those differences. And if you do have different differences, let me know, because I am curious to know if like they do change that for, you know, different playthroughs and all that. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, keep surviving and keep thriving.